Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kaylin and we have a new little one. I am so sorry that it has been almost a year since I have recorded and uploaded a testimonial video, but I'm starting back up. So with that being said, I'm sorry, but we have a new little one. This is Atlas and he'll be 4 months tomorrow. And we're so blessed to have him and so thankful to God that he made it here safely. And I'll have like his birth story and stuff like that uploaded here soon. It's just kind of rough trying to get into the swing of things with 3 kids now. And I mean, he's not a newborn anymore, but he's finally getting on routine. But yeah, so we're excited to have him and we are going to just jump back into things. So I don't know if I introduced myself, I can't remember. But anyways, I'm gonna introduce myself again. My name is Kaylin and this channel always sounds like he's spitting up. This channel will be filled with God's word, his love, anything he puts on my heart to share, family life, kids, life as a military spouse, as a military family. Yeah, really just anything that God puts on my heart to share. But I pray that through this channel, you'll get God's word, laughter, just relatability, just anything. And I hope that you guys are comfortable here. So God has put on my heart to share my testimony. This is part 4. I will link below the part 1, 2, and 3 so that if you missed it, you can go back and watch those. All the testimonial videos kind of turned into my life story, but I promise that it all makes sense when you listen to all of it. God was working in all of my life, so yes, it's a life story, but God was working in my whole life. So of course I'm gonna tell like how he worked in my life and how much he loves me, how much he loves you guys, because most of the stuff that I'm going through, I'm sure many people have went through similar things. And I really just hope that you find comfort here and relatability, like I've said before. We're just gonna get right into it. So this is part 4. We left off in part 3 with God showing his love for me by sending me a good friend and just showing me truly how much he loves me and the way that he works, not the way that I thought that he worked. So he answered my prayer, and I apologize if the lighting is pretty bad. We're just working with what we got. It's rainy today. Sorry, I just had to say that really quick. But he answered my prayer for a good friend and he showed me his true self, his true love for me, and not what I thought that his love was. It's not transactional. He loves me regardless of all the things that I've done in my life. He loves me no matter what. He has always loved me, and he has never ever punished me for the things that I have done. Discipline and punishment are 2 different things. And I feel like, yes, I got disciplined. He's my father, but I was never punished for the things that I've done. He's only loved me. And you can love and discipline. Like you discipline your children because you love them. And I feel like he definitely has done that in my life. So that's where we left off. We're gonna pick back up. So this isn't related to anything from previous, but I wanna say in my teen years is when I started to notice that I had kind of like, not really like an anger issue, but I was very angry all the time. And I later found out that it wasn't necessarily me, it was people around me, parent figures, that were provoking me to anger. And there's a Bible verse that says, so the way that I found out, sorry, I had to stop and I had to find the Bible verse. The way that I found out that, and mind you, this was like years later. So as a teen, I did not know this, but eventually as an adult, there's a Bible verse. This is Ephesians 6:4. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with the discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. Once I realized that, and mind you, as an adult, I feel like I could control or figure out how to control my anger. But as a child, of course, I'm not going to know how to do that. I feel like that's a parent's job now. And I can't fault my mom because she just learned from her parents. And then I can't fault my grandma because she learned from her parents. Like, it's just a generational chain that I want to break myself. But I realized that I was being provoked to anger. But in hindsight, and I'm just gonna go back to my teen years, I was a very angry person. But I learned to be angry, and I learned that that was like a coping mechanism for me. So when people would make me angry, I guess I would kind of like hold it as like a tally mark. When somebody would make me angry, I'd be like, oh yeah, they made me angry, so I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, or I'm just gonna keep this kind of in my back pocket. And eventually I just became this very angry person. So back to the story. I'm still an angry person at this point. I'm an adult. I do not know yet that that was the reason why I became angry and why I was the way that I was. So at this point, I'm still dealing with my anger. I guess I kind of learned through the things that I grew up with. Whenever I was angry or frustrated, I would kind of slam things, throw things around. Growing up, my mom would not use very kind words, pretty much saying demeaning things, throwing stuff around, being passive aggressive, ignoring, things like that. I feel like the person that got it the worst was Arya, and I feel so guilty to this day, and I still feel guilty because I've come a long way, but I still have those tendencies, and I don't want her to bring that into her family, and I don't want her to feel the way that I felt. I just want her to know that I love her, and when I discipline her, I make sure that my feelings aren't in there. It's for her best interest, not my best interest. Not because I'm angry or I'm upset that she did this, or just angry at my husband and I'm taking it out on her, which that's what I was doing back then. She, around this time, I want to say it's like 2020, but yeah, I feel like she got the brunt of it. Michael got it too, but he's an adult and he was the main reason why I was angry all the time. I wasn't getting the support that I needed. Mind you, I also wasn't saying what I needed to say to him because I didn't want an argument, or I didn't want a disagreement, or I didn't want to feel like it was all my fault, because that's how things had always felt back then. So anyways, my anger, didn't want to take it out on Arya, ended up taking it out on Arya. I was saying very demeaning things to her, slamming things around, and then I would hold things in and I would just ignore it, and then I would blow up, and that wasn't good really for anyone. So I realized that anger was a problem, and I decided to try and take it into my own hands. I looked up a way to, because I noticed that it was affecting Arya the most, and I feel like it was mostly in my parenting with her. So I looked up, the Bible app has like plans that you can, or like sample plans that you can look at, and I found one. It was called, sorry, give me a second. It was 5 Days to Freedom from Angry Parenting. And I finished the 5 days and I enjoyed it a lot. And it was really eye-opening. So I decided to buy the book, and I bought the workbook as well. And it's so crazy. It really was such a good book. I don't think I got through all of it. I think I still have like a few chapters, but it was really eye-opening. I feel like that is where I found that verse. Ephesians, Atlas, let go of my hair, dude. And he's just enjoying it. The verse in Ephesians, that's where I learned that at, and I was like, wow, so this is what started it all. What is your problem? But anyways, I started doing that, and that was the start to working on my anger. I also really got into Super Nanny. So I noticed that I'm about to say the same thing over and over again. You're making it hard to record, sir. So I got really into Super Nanny, and I learned so much. I learned so much from Super Nanny, and I feel like that is the reason why I am a better parent today. Like, Nanny Jo, wonderful. Love her. Love all of her teachings. I don't think there's one thing that I disagreed with. What? But yeah, being a first-time mom, nobody prepares you to be a parent. Like, in school, you had to take the baby home and stuff like that, and I feel like that was just like this stage right here. No one teaches you how to be a parent, or at least how to not really raise your children, because parenting is different for everyone. But I just feel like, I don't know, we should be getting something. So I'm so glad that I found and started watching Super Nanny, and I'm so glad that I found that book, because it just helped tremendously. And that was like the start to smooth sailing with Arya. And also I learned from Super Nanny the schedule thing. And for Arya, schedules were like the key. They were the key to her. She needed to know when things were going to happen. Like, she thrived on it, and it's crazy because I kind of thrive on schedules as well. It just helps me know what to expect next, and it gives me less anxiety. And yeah, thankful for all of that. We're gonna move on. So I was bound by really anger and generational chains and resentment, and it was so hard to get out of that. I say that I love the tools that I found, but it really took a long time to get to where I needed to be. I had to take breaks, and I wanted to give up so many times. It was a lot of work, but what kept me going was Arya. She deserved better than I had in my childhood, and she just deserves better. All my children deserve better. Heck, I deserve better. I deserve to be a better person, and I've been through so much in my life, and I deserve it too, but mainly my children, because they didn't ask to be here. It all came to a head when I realized the way that I was running my house, and this was before I kind of got into Super Nanny, but I was running it to where I just felt like I was so overwhelmed. I couldn't keep up with cleaning and cooking and taking care of her and taking care of myself. And now that I have 3 kids, it's like, wow, like, I really didn't have extra time, but now I have 2 extra children. And it's really hard. It's actually funny, I've been recording myself all day, just kind of doing like a vlog, and I was just explaining how tired I am. But anyways, I'm sorry, I'm getting on a side tangent. I noticed that whenever Arya would make a mess, she would get very upset. And it wasn't until I watched Super Nanny that I realized, oh wow, she is catching on to me. I wanted to keep the house clean. Every time that she did make a mess, I would get upset and I'd have to clean it up. And I would get so angry. I'm sorry. Postpartum is a journey. I just hate that she had to feel that way because she's a child. She's just trying to be a toddler. And I'm sitting here worried about how clean my house is because I didn't want more work for myself, even though I should have been getting it from my husband and I wasn't getting it from him. I'm not going to sit here and beat around the bush. He should have helped me more. And I believe he realizes that now. And I pray that it continues because it hasn't been a long time since he's come to that realization. And yeah, but in Super Nanny, this mom was like a clean freak. She didn't want any messes in her house or anything like that. And pretty much her child acted very dramatically to making a mess. And that's when she realized, wow, like I'm doing this to my child. And ever since I saw that, I'm like, yeah, no, something's got to give. We got to change that. And I changed it. I changed it for her. And God just works in mysterious ways. And I wish that I could tell you all of the things that happened leading up to that, but it was just so God directed. I know we're talking about testimonies, but I'm telling you that's a whole other thing. We're just going to stick to the script. I'm sorry. So that was kind of like a tangent, but I felt like it was important to put that in there because what happens next is somewhat what I'm going to call a flare up. It's kind of like a flare up, and rightfully so. Has nothing to do with Arya, has everything to do with my anger. So we left off. God brought me a friend, Sierra, and we just had so much in common. Like we wanted to expand our families. We wanted to just do a lot of similar things. We had one child each, both girls. Yeah, we just had so many things in common. So anyways, we're to the point where Michael and I want to expand our family. And so we start trying. I start tracking everything, tracking my temperatures, tracking my periods, just doing all of the things. And I want to say a few months passed and like nothing had happened. And I was getting so discouraged. And I just remember I'm like, if I keep up, like it'll happen. I was praying every night. I was reading my Bible every day, multiple times a day. Like I was really meditating on this. So then in August, I had missed my period and it was almost Arya's birthday. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let her birthday pass. I'm going to, enjoy her birthday as an only child. I just had a really good feeling about it. And anyways, we had Arya's second birthday party. It was so much fun. My cousin got to come down. Some of my friends came from church, and my dad came, my mom came, my grandma came. It was so much fun. They had so much fun. So then I want to say the very next day I took a test and it was positive. And I just remember being so excited. And I decided to surprise Michael. Michael doesn't get surprised. He really has no reaction to really anything. So I did record it. Don't know where it's at. If I can find it, I'll put it in there. But anyways, so yeah, we're pregnant. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. My friend Sierra take our pregnancy announcements and they were so cute. She did such a great job. Loved it. And it's really crazy because I remember I'm like, maybe I should wait to announce it. And I was like, no, I feel like if anything were to happen, I could, kind of tell my story. And when it came to it, it came to it. So anyways, a few weeks passed. I get a phone call that my grandfather had passed away. My grandfather, when I was younger, me and my grandfather had the best relationship. He was the person that I went to. He was like my best friend. I felt like I could tell him anything. I felt like we were just best friends. Like it's really hard to explain. And yeah, I felt like I could talk to him about anything. He walked me halfway down the aisle and my dad walked me down the other half. But unfortunately, the older he got, the meaner he got, especially with his words and the way that he treated me, and I couldn't stand it. I want to say by this point I had stopped talking to him for about a year, and then I got the phone call that he had passed away. And I can't say that it didn't affect me, like I didn't really care. Like I cared that my grandpa had passed away, but I just remember that person that he was before he died and when I wasn't talking to him. And what I did personally is that I mourned the person my grandpa was back then when things were good, and things weren't good all the time, but when he talked to me just with respect, like he cared for me and stuff like that, I couldn't mourn that person that was mean and demeaning and really disgusting with his words. And not disgusting like in a terrible way, but you shouldn't talk to anyone like the way that he would talk to me. And the standards that were put on me. And anyways, he passed away. My main concern was my grandma and my mom. Mainly my mom, but my grandma as well. My grandma and my grandpa, they were married, but they didn't live together for a while.
Can you stop trying to tell my story? Why are you trying to tell my story? Why are you trying to tell my story? I tried to tell my story. You weren't there.
So I figured out I had to figure out how to get there and to his services and stuff like that. So he passed away on September 11th. I just had to get there. No questions asked, I had to get there. My dad flew down to help me drive back there so that I would have a car and stuff like that. And I didn't know when the services were going to be. So yeah, we drove down there. A lot happened on that trip. And that's a story for another day because I can't even get into that right now. It ended with me not speaking to my dad for a while. I'm telling you, I was on the journey to healing and I feel like the devil was just really working. And you know what? That needs to be a part of my testimony, but I'm just gonna save that for another day. And I will share the story because it's really wild. Anyways, me and Arya get there and let me say first, I did call to get a prenatal appointment and I ended up canceling it so that I could go for the funeral and then I'd be back. And I'm like, I'm only 6 weeks. They don't want to see me until like 8 weeks. Anyways, I'm like, they don't want to see me until like 8 weeks anyways. So whatever. I'm like, everything will be fine. We're just gonna keep doing the prenatals, stuff, everything that we can. So anyways, me and Arya get there. But I also want to say, my grandpa, him getting mean, he had bone cancer. But him getting mean and the way that he would talk to me, talk to my grandma, talk to my mom, really talk to all of us, my aunt too, is not an excuse for somewhat verbally abusing your family. That's not okay. So he had bone cancer, and I know that it took a toll on him. He had it for not a few years, like quite a while. Eventually, he passed from it. He lived in Colorado by himself. He passed there. That's probably the main reason why my grandpa got as, I would say, verbally abusive as he did. But anyways, see, this is why I need to read my notes because I'd be forgetting stuff. So pretty much, and I wrote this like a year ago. It says, my last straw with him was right before Arya's first birthday. So I didn't talk to him for about a year before he passed away. That was in 2020, her first birthday, and then 2021 is when he passed. I couldn't do it anymore. I wouldn't have my child growing up listening to the passive insult to the way I did things in my life. Every time that I was on the phone with him, it was something I wasn't doing right, or I need to be doing this, or why is her hair look like that? Pink. Why isn't she pink? Why is her hair like that? Why isn't she dressed? Like pretty much just being judgmental. That's my clothes. Pink. Just pretty much being judgmental, and I'm like, I'm not gonna let my child grow up listening to this. I'm not gonna have my child growing up listening to this because then it's going to be a never-ending cycle of negativity, and I'm not standing for that. So let me stick to my notes. But I held on to a lot of resentment and anger. When I think about it, the standards that were put on me and really all of us kids it's good in a way to have standards and to have goals in life. But the way that my grandpa was to all of us set unrealistic expectations for all of us. And I feel like that's the reason why I'm never satisfied when I do something that I put, like I set a goal and I don't feel accomplished every time I hit goals. Because it's like nothing was ever good enough for him. And I feel like that's why I was the way that I was. And I will say I don't regret, and I will say that I don't regret not talking to him and cutting him off because it's something that had to be done for my mental health and something that I needed to protect my child from. So I don't regret it. I don't really regret anything. It's just really sad that he had to be the way that he was. And I couldn't do it. Couldn't stand for it anymore. I couldn't mourn over the person that his sickness and age had made him become. I can only mourn over the person that I knew that he actually was. And he was my best friend. Okay, so back to what I was saying. The road trip from South Carolina to Illinois. So my dad had to come because Michael couldn't get leave to go with him. He helped me get halfway there. Won't tell the whole story. But I ended up not talking to him for a while. But God showed himself because I wouldn't have gotten through that without him. I had to constantly stop and pray. I had to calm myself down. Pretty much everything that I was working on was tested so hard. And I kept with what I had to do and what I was doing. I was trying to change this person that I was. And the circumstances were not helping. So anyways, we get to Illinois. Everything is good. My family's happy to see Aria and I. They were very supportive. They helped me through. And yeah, I thank God for getting us there. Thanking God for the pregnancy. And yeah, just thanking him for his goodness and his love. So October 9th rolls around. That's the day they came up with this funeral. Or you know what? Let me actually stop, because I did not put this in my notes. But about 3 or 4 days after I had gotten there, I got a message from this girl. And she was pretty much just asking, I want to say for my mom. And long story short, I found out that I had a niece, and I was the first person to meet up with her. And I just remember how small she was and just how much light she had in her eyes when I met her. She was a year old. Her birthday is in September, so she had just turned a year. And I was the first person to meet her, and I just remember how shy she was. But as soon as I started talking to her and kind of interacting with her, she was smiling. She was so happy. Like, it was probably one of the highlights of my life, meeting my niece. Well, I guess she'd technically be my second niece. But we love Aralea King. She's the best. She's the best. Okay, so October 9th rolls around, Grandpa's funeral. I just remember the days leading up to it, I'm just like, I just know I'm just not gonna be prepared for this. I'm not gonna be prepared. This is gonna be kind of like a crazy time. Just mentally, I just was not prepared for the day. So I wake up, I instantly know I'm not gonna be prepared for this day. And it's just kind of like, just a kind of a gloomy day. Sun was shining, but it just felt off. I get up, me and Arya eat breakfast. I'm sitting down and I start doing Arya's hair. I remember Shrek was on, and I just remember the part in the movie, pretty much where that sad song comes on and it's like raining and stuff like that. And I just remember crying, and I don't really know why. I just kind of chalked it up to my grandpa's funeral and stuff like that. And mind you, I'd been there for a few weeks. I was constantly staying in prayer, reading my Bible, just trying to keep myself regulated, because I know when I go back home, it's kind of just a different atmosphere, and I don't like to go back to Illinois. It puts me in a different mindset and a different mental state, and I don't like it. So anyways, I'm doing Aria's hair, get her hair done, and then I'm getting ready to do my cousin's hair. She's getting ready to come over, and I remember sitting at the kitchen table. I just remember this hotness come from out of me, and I instantly was just like, no. I run down to the bathroom, go to sit on the toilet, and there's blood in my underwear. And I just remember crying, kind of screaming, not really screaming, just anyways. My grandma's, she came down there. Arya's down there. I'm trying not to freak Arya out. And my grandma's like, just calm down. Like, we don't know what's going on. I hadn't had a prenatal appointment or anything like that. So I go to the ER. My best friend meets me there, and I remember calling Michael. I was just telling him what was going on, but we got there. They finally took me back after what felt like forever. They did an ultrasound, but pretty much I had a miscarriage. And I had a miscarriage, and pretty much when they did an ultrasound, the sac was there, but it was empty. There was no baby in there. There was no tissue, and it was nothing. It was just empty. And I just remember being just devastated. I cried a lot. I'm thankful that my best friend could be there because Michael wasn't. And yeah, so had a miscarriage. All of this was happening while my grandpa's funeral was happening, so I missed the funeral. After I got done at the ER, I decided to go to the repass. I didn't want to miss everything. I didn't want to miss the family that had came. And I put on a brave face. I forgot that my hospital band was still on. Couldn't find scissors to get it off. And I just know that I had to tell pretty much anybody that asked, because everyone knew that I was expecting. And I remember I got to a point where I just broke down. It was like I just couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't keep a brave face anymore. I just broke down, and I just kind of went to the ground, because I'm just like, why? I felt like I did everything right, everything I could do, and it just felt like it wasn't enough. And I remember on my way from the ER to my grandpa's repass, I listened to You Know My Name. I want to say Tasha Cobb sings it, or at least I listened to her version, and I just sobbed the whole way there. Got there, put on a brave face, and then I just couldn't handle it anymore. But my cousin ended up driving me back to my grandma's house, and that was that for that night. So yeah, very devastating. So after my grandpa's funeral and the miscarriage and stuff like that, I just knew that I needed to be back home. It was time for us to go back home anyways. So my sister helped Aria and I drive back, and she didn't really help drive. I drove the whole way because she wasn't old enough to drive. The girl still didn't have her license yet. I'd be getting on her about that all the time. But anyways, she helped. She sat in the back seat with Aria. I just remember at one point we stopped. I did still have an appointment set for when I got back because they were like scheduling so much in advance out, and they didn't have appointments, whatever. So I still had an appointment. I didn't know if I needed to still go or what. So anyways, I called them. They tell me, yes, please still do come in, whatever. So that was a few days after we got back. On the drive there, I remember it was like I was the only car on the road, and the sky just brightened up so much, and I just felt so much peace that things were gonna be okay. I felt like God was there. I feel like his presence was there. Yeah, and it was really good. It was a really good experience. And I was thankful because I was the only one driving. So anyways, I take my sister to the airport. She gets on her plane. Okay, got my notes. So when I was on the phone and they told me to still come in, they had me send over my records from the hospital that I was at to them. So I sent it to them. I go to the appointment, I get checked in, and nurse pulls me back. It's not to a regular room like I'm used to. I went to this place when I was pregnant with Aria. It was like a side room, kind of like a triage almost. I get to that room, and when I tell y'all this, the first lady that I spoke to wasn't mean or anything. She was asking me what my symptoms were, stuff like that. Tell her what all my symptoms are. I'm in a lot of pain. Never had a miscarriage before, so I don't really know what to expect. I'm in a lot of pain. Doesn't feel like anything that I've ever felt before. And she's like, well, it should feel like a period. I'm like, it doesn't feel like a period. It feels worse than that. I have headaches. My body hurts. The cramping is really bad. It's worse than a period. Let me look at my notes. Sorry. Pretty much I tell that lady that. So then this other lady comes in, and she's telling me the exact same thing. It should feel like a period. I tell her it doesn't feel like a period. It feels worse than a period. When I tell you this lady lacked empathy, I feel like that's an understatement. She was so dismissive. She didn't listen to anything that I said to her. Pretty much they were terrible. They just told me it should feel like a period. I felt extremely unheard and unbelieved. I was in so much pain. They told me to come in, and I didn't even need to come in because they told me it should feel like a period. This is normal. Let me tell you, it was not normal. But pretty much they questioned me, like, why am I even there? Ma'am, they told me to come here. They told me to come in here. That's why I'm here. I was like, well, I am in a lot of pain. Oh, that's normal. Okay. So I walked out of there. I was like, okay. I was livid. So I left. I went home. I was in so much pain. I was in so much pain that I was doubled over, laying down, when you're, mind you, okay, if you're not a woman, you won't know. But mind you, when you're on your period and you're laying down, the cramps should be less intense than when you're standing up. And when I tell you they were worse than when I was standing up moving around, it was awful. Let me get back to my notes so I don't miss anything. So pretty much they told me to take Tylenol and ibuprofen. That obviously wasn't helping because I was doubled over in pain. I couldn't do anything, and I could barely walk to the bathroom. Not like a period at all. So we ended up calling my friend Caitlin and her husband Josh, and they came and sat with Aria. Michael had to call an ambulance because I couldn't get up to get into the car. It was that bad. So Michael met me at the hospital. I got in the ambulance because I really couldn't move. The paramedics had to help me into the ambulance. And pretty much what I found out when I got to the ER, that the miscarriage was not passing on its own. And that's why I was in so much pain. And mind you, I didn't even mention this. So when I started miscarrying, I was almost 11 weeks. I was like the next day would have been 11 weeks. So I was 11 weeks along. No baby was in there, in the sack. No baby was in there. And pretty much my body was carrying this sack for 11 weeks. And then I want to say 2 more weeks is when all of this was happening because we had to get there. I went to that one appointment. It was like a few days later. And then we ended up going to the ER. But pretty much it wasn't passing on its own. People at the OB office absolutely in the first place should have given me an ultrasound. I don't care what their protocol is. If I'm telling you that I'm in pain more than a period, this is my first miscarriage. And yeah, they should have done an ultrasound in the first place to see. So pretty much it wasn't passing on its own. Let me get back to my notes. It wasn't passing tissue on its own, and it was causing the pain because my body is trying to flush out what it doesn't need, and it couldn't do it on its own. So I was getting sick because of it on top of the pain. Whoa, Atlas, where are you going? So they prescribed me strong ibuprofen and set up an appointment with the people I had just seen days ago. I'm like, great, thanks, because that was like the place that I went. And that was for the next day. So anyways, that was for the next day. Absurd. I was like, great, whatever. Sure. Sir. So anyways, show up to the appointment. I'm already on, I wouldn't even say I'm defensive, but I'm like, great, they're just gonna dismiss me again. So anyways, I walk in there, I check in, and I'm sitting there, and I get a phone call. It was our worship pastor, and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't answer this. Like, I'm in the waiting room. There really wasn't that many people in there. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't answer this. But anyways, I ended up answering it, and I'm gonna get back to my notes so I don't forget. So I answer the phone, and this is what he said, and I'm it's crazy that I still remember this. I'm really good at remembering things. But anyways, he said, "Hey Kaylin, it's Pastor Jeremy. How are you? I heard you were in the ER last night." I'm like, how in the world did he know that? But mind you, we're in a small town, and I mean, maybe they just knew. I don't know. But I was like, maybe Caitlin sent out like a text to the pastors or something. I have no idea. So I'm like, how in the world did he know that? What's so funny? What is so funny? So I say, oh yeah, I started having a miscarriage a week ago. Sorry. It was a week ago. And I'm in so much pain, and that I was at an appointment right now waiting to be seen. And he says, okay, my wife and I are praying for you, and your family and all of us pastors at the church are praying for me. And I was like, how sweet and how on time for God, because I'm sitting here just discouraged, sitting in the waiting room, feeling like they're just going to tell me the exact same thing that they told me a couple days ago. But I thank him for calling me and checking on me and for praying for me. And I told him I would keep him updated. But I appreciated that so much. Like, yeah, it was just so on time for God. Like, I really, really needed that in that moment. So I finally get called back. They prescribed me the medicine to get everything flushed out and stuff like that. So I finally felt like I was kind of being heard. I was just relieved to finally get something for the pain. And sorry, I'm reading my notes. Pretty much I'll save that experience for another time because I really don't want to talk about this for too long. It's still kind of upsetting, especially the way that I was not heard. But they had to prescribe me that medication 2 times, and they pretty much said, like, if this last time doesn't help, we'll schedule you for a D&C. I honestly didn't even know that was an option because of the way that they treated me in the first place. They eventually did give me an ultrasound one of the 2 times that I was in there. One of the other 2 times that I was in there. Durr, what's your problem? But yeah, so I went there a total of 5 times. It was a total of 2 weeks, but it felt like eternity. And I was in so much pain physically and mentally because I very much so wanted this pregnancy. We both wanted this pregnancy, but literally by prayer and by the grace of God, everything passed. I didn't have to have a D&C. Nothing else crazy happened. I was so thankful. I just prayed and prayed, and I just know that my pastor's praying for me truly helped because I'm praying. I mean, God hears my prayers, but I feel like the more prayers, the better. Like, if he hears it more than one time, then that's even better. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna honor that. I don't know. But after all of that, my mental state was pretty much shot. I was feeling very discouraged, and then getting tired, and I have to go pick his sister up in a minute. We gotta go get her. Okay, sorry. I had to go get Arya. It was 3:10, and her bus is usually, I don't know, it's usually there early, but it's been getting there at like 3:20-ish, maybe a little bit later than that, but it used to be earlier, so we had to rush out of here and run. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So I was thankful to God that he pretty much got me through that because, I mean, even the OB office, I mean, they were like no help until I actually went to the ER. So yeah, but I was thankful to God that the pain was finally over, finally not being in pain, but actually being able to interact with Arya because I was in so much pain that I wasn't there. I wasn't present. In the weeks to come, it was hard to be present as well. Just with losing the pregnancy and kind of losing my faith, it was really rough. But that was 2 weeks that Arya was without her mom because of the pain that I was in. I had lost my grandpa and my pregnancy all within a month. I'm so thankful to Michael for being supportive and being there when I got back to South Carolina. He couldn't be there in Illinois, but I was so thankful how supportive he was and how he stepped up to take care of Arya and take care of me for that matter. And I was so thankful to his coworkers. They made me like a care package, and it just helped me feel seen. It was just so kind of them. So that's where we'll stop for now. A few verses came to mind while I was remembering all of this. One is Proverbs 29:22. So Proverbs 29:22 says, an angry person stirs up conflict and a hot-tempered person commits many sins. That one really hit me hard because I struggled with anger, still struggle with anger sometimes, not to the extreme that it was. But in my anger, it's really hard to not be spiteful and hurt people when you're angry. I feel like anger just consumed me. It was just a really hard time. I just remember that when I am angry, it hurts everyone around me, and it's also hurting me. My main concern is the people around me. I just want to love everyone, and I just want to understand where people are coming from, and I can't do that if I'm angry. Another is Psalm 119, 114. Psalm 119, 114 says, "You are my refuge and my shield. I have put my hope in your word." I had to put my hope in him and hope in his word when I did go back home, as I mentioned before. It puts me in a different mindset, different mental state when I go back home, and it's not a good one. I really, really, really had to stay in his word and remember that what his word says is true, and just gave me just hope that he could get me through this time that I did have to be back home. It's a real slippery slope to be surrounded by negativity and get put back into that mindset when you're surrounded by it. And so every time I go back home, that's really all it is just negativity. And I really felt like this verse helped me in the early days of my miscarriage, because I just had to put my hope in him that I would feel better soon, not be in so much pain soon, and that he would take care of me. Another verse that I thought of is Proverbs 3:5. Proverbs 3:5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." Because truly when the miscarriage happened, I just had to put my trust in him, and I just knew if I didn't, I was just going to fall back into that deep, dark despair and loneliness. I leaned on my own understanding of things. I eventually ended up falling back into that. I was like, what did I do wrong? Is there anything that I wasn't doing? And I felt like he was punishing me. And that's not a real easy thing to get over. Like when you're taught that pretty much your whole life, or that's your understanding for your whole life, it's hard to get out of that mindset. And I just had to put my trust in him. It eased it up a little bit, but I still felt like I did something wrong. But yeah, like I said, later I kind of failed at putting my trust in him, but it helped me get us back to South Carolina safely, in the right state of mind, and prepared me for what was to come, dealing with the rest of the miscarriage and what I encountered. Okay, and lastly, and this one really, really touched me, was James 5:15. James 5:15 says, "And the prayer offered in faith will make the sick person well. The Lord will raise them up. If they have sinned, they will be forgiven." And I'm going to read my notes on this because I wrote this a year ago, and it really touched me at that time, and I just want to remember what I wrote down. So I said, "Because I had so many people praying for me so I could finish the miscarriage. Because of their faith and God's wonderful power, I was able to overcome that. Also, thinking back, I was consumed by fertility and getting pregnant so that we could have our second." And now that I'm thinking about it, and something just told me to read the verse after, I'm going to say James 5:15 and 16. It says, "Therefore confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective." All the people praying for me. And when I think back to that time, I really was consumed by fertility and trying to get pregnant with our second one. And I wasn't fully trusting in God's timing. I just figured if I do everything right and track all of this stuff, it'll happen. And I later found out God was like, yeah, no, it's my timing, not yours. Traumatic way to be disciplined by it, but yeah, I was healed, and I feel like I had sinned in a way. And not that he was punishing me for sinning in that way, but not trusting him. That was my mistake. I was not trusting in him. I was trusting in my own understanding and thinking that I could do things on my time and not on his time. Oh, I said I relied on myself and my knowledge in it and took it into my own hands when I should have relied fully on him. I did not read this, I'm sorry. Fully on him, and not be selfish and forcing something that wasn't in his plans right then. And there you go right there. Oh, that's so funny. I try and stick to these notes that I wrote because I will ramble on, but I wrote this over a year ago, and it just goes to show you that I still remember those things, but I also know that God is working. He's working in my life just all the time. And yeah, all right, so part 5 is coming soon. I'm trying this new thing where I am just recording, like, with him. It was a struggle, but it only took me maybe 50 minutes to record that whole thing, and then once I edit it, it'll be hopefully like 30 minutes. And it was rough, but I mean, hey, I'm just gonna record. I'm just gonna do it because, as you'll see in another video, I say no one's coming to save me. No one's coming to save me. I'm just gonna go ahead and record. So, part 5 is coming soon. If you liked this video, please like, comment, subscribe. I would love to hear your personal stories. Send them my way so that I can be praying for you to continue in your journey of healing, or if you need some healing, please send them my way and I will be praying for you. So yeah, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you know when I upload another video. And as you should know, but if you don't, Jesus loves you, God loves you, I love you. Jesus and God, they want a relationship with you. Trust in them, pour your heart out to them. They are listening. Anything and everything that you're going through, talk to them. It might not feel like it's doing anything in the moment, but I promise you, the more that you pray and the more that you just get in relationship with them, it makes things so much easier. It doesn't make it go away. Talking about my miscarriage still makes me emotional. It still hurts, but just trusting in God, having a relationship with God and Jesus makes it so much easier. God bless y'all. I love y'all, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.